Hey everybody, it's Binja the Body Whisperer here. Gonna do my 12 minutes for today. It's kind of late, but I was like, it's 11 o'clock at night, my time, but I said I need to do this, so I'm gonna do it now. Yeah, so I'm gonna do the same as yesterday, because I feel still a little bit like something's going on down here where I just want it to slowly build up. I've been doing a lot of work to stretch out my lower back, and it's not so much the lower back as it is there's something that's holding that I think that's from an old injury. Again, I injured my right knee, stopped using my right knee, put everything onto the left, and I think that there was a whole lot of compensation going on then in my back to kind of counteract all of it. And I've since, the knee feels better, the leg is stronger, but there's some old stuff that's going on here, and I think it's like some of these, the muscles that connect into the hips, abdomen, but kind of deep in there. So I keep trying to release and play with that. So who knows how long it'll take. So I'm gonna get started on this. Like I said, same as last night, I'll walk you through it. So there's just, I usually have a 10-second timer to start. So I'm going to start T-Pushups to start. I'm going to do the full T-Push-Up. As you've seen, if you've been watching, you can modify this to whatever you would like. Knees down into more of a, like this type of a push-up where your knees are on the ground. And then you can also do where you have one leg out and helping yourself balance. And just take your time with this. Again, this isn't necessarily about, this isn't gonna make you huge if you're trying to get huge. It's also probably not it's not gonna hurt in losing weight, but really where losing weight comes from is consistently looking at your diet, changing that. I've been listening to a lot of stuff, and something since 2010 I've been interested in. Well, that was when I first, but even before that I tried Atkins and stuff, but when you look back on that, so now it's just stretch. When I look back on that, and what I read in 2010 is the Ultimate Diet 2.0, and he goes into some of the stuff in there. And he talks about one of the things that's like our insulin sensitivity is all out of whack. We produce way too much insulin. And that, is a huge factor then when it changes up your hormone levels and how the body works, how the body functions. So, the more you can keep sugar out of your diet, I'm a big fan of keeping dairy and wheat. Actually, I'm not saying go, that was my stretching, I'm not saying go paleo. I don't know if I think that's more in the step of the right direction. It's a little bit hard, I think, for people to do. So I'm going to do lunge. I think I'll do the active lunge today. I think that is a little bit harder. It's, again, one of the big ones that I think people could do, and it makes sense to me, and it's, once you get into it, it takes a little bit of time, is intermittent fasting. I think it's a good thing. I've heard different variations of it where you don't eat for 16 hours and then have an 18-hour window. I've heard of people who have like a 2-hour window, 1-hour window, 1 meal a day, you know. I think find something that works for you. Again, it's what you're gonna do. It's not a diet, okay? It's not a diet, it's a lifestyle change. Wish people would get that through their head. Because at the end of the day, you're not gonna do something that you're not gonna wanna do. And then why would you continue to do it? If you ever talk to the people who do something, who seem to be like, it's not hard for them. And I'm not saying it's because they're better or anything, it's they found a way, either in their heads, they found a way to trick themselves, or maybe it is just the way they are. I don't think that's it. I think it's, you know, I love candy. I love sugar. I have a huge sweet tooth, but I have to, you know, what I've also found is I enjoy feeling good as well, you know, and after a while, that sugar just doesn't, you know, it catches up to you. And I guess one of the things too, I think where I saw it, and I noticed it as a kid, you know, I remember thinking, like, when I was a kid, I felt like when I ate sugar or drank pop or something, that I'd break out more, you know, spots or zits, whatever you want to call them. And the embarrassment of that, and maybe that's just, you know, being whatever it is for me, was enough that I could see the cause and the effect. The cause, or the, you know, the thing I was doing, eating this, drinking the soda, and then seeing the results, which was more spots or acne or, you know, pimples. And what I noticed is that if I didn't, it wasn't as bad. So I guess, whatever, you know, the sensitivity to that as far as embarrassment was enough for me to say, okay, I'd forego the sugar now to not have the pimples. And it was enough of a thing for me. You know, how, I don't know, you know, everybody, and I'm just doing some spinal roll-ups here, just warming up the back, warming up the spine, warming up the knees, the ankles. Okay, we can take a break. You know, so, but the thing that was interesting is I remember thinking, like, I can feel the difference. I noticed a difference, and that's where that sensitivity, we're gonna do downward dog, so get into that plank position, feet about hip width, rolling the body up and over so the arms and the shoulders and everything are in line, and going down. You know, that was, it was enough to keep me. And but the other thing I think that was interesting is, you know, looking back on it, was the observation. You know, I think that's where a lot of times we get to a point where we're so used to a way a thing is that we don't even then notice when things are awry, when things have gone out of whack. You know, and that's something that I would say, because I have consistently, well, you know, I feel like I'm consistently inconsistent, or inconsistently consistent, one of the two, one of those two, because I feel like I go in spurts. All right, that was downward dog. I feel like I go in spurts in the sense that I always know how to come back to, or I always come back to it. In the last 3 years, when I've, now it's been how many years? I've been taking photos, front, back, side, side, just as an observation, probably since my MFA in 2013, so 2014 and 2018, so 4 years. And I've noticed the changes just because I've started to observe it. And you know, that's one of the big things, is anything that is measured is managed. So if you start to just, you know, they've statistically they've had studies where people who just start recording their weight, just so they're mindful of it, that can start to change what you're doing. You know, and at the end of the day too, it's all about habits, creating habit loops that serve you. Because I hate to use the term good, bad, because, you know, eating a lot of food is good for a bodybuilder who works out super hard, is probably shooting up some type of growth hormone, but that's good because they're trying to gain weight, right? Bad, let's say if you know, you haven't worked out in a long time, your doctor is worried about your heart and he said you need to lose weight, and you're still eating a lot of food, and you say that's bad. So, now we're gonna do twist. So, really it's not necessarily good, bad. Again, sugar's not bad. You know, and every time you turn around, it's like some science is saying, you know, this is bad, this is bad. All I can say is find out what works for you. You know, it's an interesting one. I was watching a show about, oh gosh, what's his name? Warren Buffett. One of either, you know, it's different stages, the wealthiest man in the world. You know, is always in that kind of top, you know, just, he's the what is it, Oracle of Omaha. His diet, I was watching this show, his diet, when you really break it down, is horrible. McDonald's, but you know, the thing is, what I would say is, he doesn't what he seems to be is he doesn't overeat in a sense, like he's just very consistent. So he's like, kind of always has the same thing. So for breakfast, it's like an Egg McMuffin, but that's it, just an Egg McMuffin. But then he also enjoys just having a Coca-Cola for breakfast and a steak with 2 orders of hash browns, you know, he consistently goes to this one place, and 3 cherry Cokes. But you look at him and he's not really, I mean, he's not in great shape, but he's not, you know, in bad shape. He seems to be in good spirits, and, but he just, and people talk about it, they're like, yeah, he just kind of, his kids were talking about it, he's like, yeah, he doesn't really eat that many vegetables. You know, he just kind of found what worked for him and then just kept on doing it, right? And I'm not saying, but, you know, he's also the type of guy who his kids would have to, I mean, this is a billionaire, and his kids would have to tell him to, like, get a new car, because it would get to a point where they were like, his car is like falling apart, you know? So now we're gonna do a 30 seconds, each leg stretching the hamstring. I have a hard like ball that I'm putting underneath that, just to give it a little bit of a pressure point. So I don't know, I'm just throwing out some ideas and thoughts and stuff. You know, that's, I'd say on a daily basis, you know, I try and supplement, you know, some type of greens. Because for me, it's not that I love all foods mostly, you know. I eat pretty much everything. Okay, we're gonna switch. Eat pretty much everything. You know, there's a few things that I'm just like, meh. You know, I tend to like to eat simple. I don't like a lot of sauces and creams and stuff like that. I don't eat milk or wheat. And I kind of, for the most part, steer clear of most grains, just because it just doesn't come into my life. Most of the time it comes into my life was I'm traveling back home, and then, you know, my mom makes homemade, I'm just gonna go for a few more seconds because I was a little bit off. And that's good. You know, so I try and steer clear of that. But with that, you know, something that I did notice, and it's just something that I've noticed for a while, yeah, actually many years. How many years now? Probably a good, you know, one time I had him checked by a dermatologist because I had like a little spot coming in here, but it wasn't like, I thought for a while it was just like a pimple, because it just seemed like, or it kind of scratch off, and almost like a little, not eczema, but like just a little spot, and it would kind of grow and shrink, and but not, how do I describe this? It almost had like a little, like there's a little like inner, it was a shape, and I've actually got a couple like on my forehead that while I was back home I noticed that they almost filled with a clear fluid, but it wasn't like a pimple. It's just like a fluid, like you couldn't really pop them, but you could kind of see that. And now that I've been back and I've been back on more of a consistent diet, they've shrunk. So I don't know. I don't know if anybody's heard of that or had that, but that just makes me, again, leads me to believe that, you know, what you're putting into your body is affecting you, and if you can really see those things and outcomes of what you're eating, either it's weight gain, you know, if you know, cardiovascular, heart problem, you know, fluid in different parts of your body, you know, like swelling, edema, if it's hormonal, you know, I mean, only you can have your hormones checked by a doctor or someone that does that. Obviously, some of that can be hereditary or genetic, but I think a lot of it too, activity. Because when you travel around the world and you start to see how active people are, or how, you know, we live in a world where we don't have to do a whole lot. Like I've been to countries where they were more like how my parents grew up. And life was a lot more difficult. It was a lot more active. We live in, there's luxuries now, physical. Now I think there's more emotional stress and things that are going on. And so then don't get me started on like stresses like the cortisol and what that does to the body and how that can throw off so many different, so if you're chronically stressed out and your cortisol levels are high, you know how it can change so many different things in your body, and then also it tells your body to hold on to fat, you know. So it's one of those things. Keep at it, simplify, you know, keep everything simple, less processed foods, less calories, you know. And it's hard. I've been there. It's easy, and it's in the culture. Where in a lot of places now, more and more places that I'm going, where I used to come to Singapore, it's starting to become more, you're just seeing more and more and more. It's the access to it, or not access to it, but yeah, access to it is just so much easier, and there's a lot more bread things here. So yeah, keep moving, people. Binja the Body Whisperer out.